Molt, to shed an outer covering for replacement by a new growth. Shed, to diffuse or radiate, to cast off. Learn, to gain knowledge or mastery. Grow, to develop and reach maturity. To become. Shed, learn, grow, molt. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Molt. Good morning, yokoso, as the Japanese would say. Welcome. It is a Tuesday morning, and I bid you a good morning. I like the idea of a good morning. It's sort of like, it's the beginning of the day, and you have the rest of the day to go forward from there. So it's sort of, it's the acknowledgement of possibility, I suppose, as opposed to something like good evening, which is more conclusive. Today is a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, November 9th. And it's 11:27 a.m. I've got my French press. I've taken a break from studying some psychology. I have a test later on today. And I've decided to begin the next cast because, as you all know by now, I'm on a very strict deadline every Friday morning. And I have to encourage everyone else to molt, shed, learn, grow, so on and so forth. Whatever what is that, a slogan? Perhaps we'll call it a slogan for now. But anyway, I wanted to start off the show by thanking anyone and everyone who listened to the last episode for doing so. Got a lot of really cool, positive feedback from, Patrick, Anne-Marie, Adam Davenport, my sister, my girlfriend, a lot of people. I appreciate all that. It helps me value what I'm doing even more, to know that other people are listening and enjoying. And I think that's actually what I'd like to go on ahead and start with this show. It's talking about an interesting conversation that I had with my sister Friday afternoon after I had released the first episode of Molt. My sister and we used to walk all the time. Back when we both lived in Lilburn. And we'd go for intense walks. We would take my dog, and we would go for 8-mile walks, be gone for like 2 hours or so. And I used to walk every single night. And my sister would join me maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And we would just talk and sort of level with each other, and she would tell me what was going on with her. And sometimes she would get really frustrated. And she would say that she was really upset that I knew so much about her, because she would basically spill every single thought and desire that was on her mind and her heart during those 2 hours, and I would just listen and kind of comment and trying to tell her what to do or how to see something differently, or try to address everything sort of as a problem answer format, whereas I never really spoke much about myself. And that's not to say that she was the only one speaking or anything, because there were times when I vented to her. I think I've maybe vented to her 2 or 3 times about how how I felt in a given situation, like with relationship issues or frustrations with school or home life or so on and so forth. But she would sometimes get upset because she felt like she didn't know me and the balance was sort of unfair. And I agree. I think that was probably the case, but at the same time, it's weird to have someone expressing their vulnerabilities to you. And for me, this is a personal thing. If someone expresses vulnerabilities to me, it's hard then to express my own back, because I do see things as such in a problem answer format. So if I have a problem and someone else says that they have a problem in a similar realm of thought, then I usually don't talk about it, because I don't feel like that person will necessarily be able to give me the solution to my problem, which again is how I approach them. So anyway, we would go on these walks, and she would talk to me and I would talk to her, and the walks, I think, were probably the highlight of my last year that I spent at home during my sophomore year at college. I would just do that every single night with my dog and, like I've said, my sister. It was just very tranquil. There was a lot of time to think. You could look up at the stars. It's pretty far outside the city, so there wasn't too much light pollution. You could realize, the scale at which you lived, with which I lived, just to see those thousands of stars. It was easy to sort of let my, I don't know, stresses or frustrations go. And I would kind of, sometimes I would time it because I would feel, pent up all day and just sort of anxious or something like that. And a few times, if I felt particularly high strung, I would time to see how long it took me to relax. Because the walk was so long that it was inevitable that, the machinery in my head that was going a mile a minute, which is only 60 miles an hour, it's not that fast. It would take a certain amount of time, but it always happened. My machinery would always slow down, and I would always be able to, take a break. I would have to focus on my surroundings because it was just so pervasive. The scenery's changing, I'm moving, the just the physical act of motion, I think, does wonders for a clogged mind. I'll take a sip of coffee. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. A very weak brew, but I love the taste, and it's warm. Unlike my apartment, which is very cold. No heat yet. But anyway, so my sister, she calls me Friday afternoon after listening to the last show, and I had that 10-minute segment where I was talking about being frustrated and how I felt about myself in that moment, and I don't know, just my overall feelings, just sort of recorded and everything. And that's the sort of the thing, I guess, that I didn't give my sister, perhaps, that she would have wanted me to give her. Just sort of a vulnerable, kind of fragile look into how I felt at a given time. And I had a feeling that she would enjoy that part, especially because it was just, most people who know me don't see that side of me often, if ever, because most of the time when I'm with other people, I don't feel like that. Maybe, I don't know if it's just not on my mind or what, but usually if someone is asking me about how I feel, I'll report positively because I feel so good when I'm with other people that if I were to refer to times when I felt insecure or anxious about the future, it would seem like I was observing something objectively and reporting back. So, anyway, my sister called and we had a very long conversation, and she was talking to me. She had kind of made bullet points in her head about what she wanted to say about that little segment, and we talked, and she was talking to me like I used to talk to her on our walks, and she was saying, like, how you feel like you always have to be doing something and you're reaching for something great. And she told me that she's had to kind of like deal with those same feelings because when we lived together, I kind of influenced her to feel the same thing. And now that she's off in college, she's realized that that was more of I guess, that was more me than her. And she's been away now for almost 6 months, a little less than that. And she's sort of shed those ideas and gotten back to more of who she is as a person. And like she was saying that she had watched Friends for a really long time the other day, and she was just totally fine with it. Whereas when we both lived together, because I was constantly biking and also going on those long walks, I guess she would often say that I made her feel bad and like a lazy person in comparison to everything I was doing. And so she was working out a lot and like very conscientious about what she ate and everything. And it was sort of the product again of my being around her, I guess, because I would express myself, but usually in just very ideological terms about what I was striving for. And since that's basically the only thing that I felt was worth sharing, that's the majority of what we would talk about. And since I was the one usually guiding her through her problems and everything, it was sort of like, I don't know, she held herself to very, very high standards because to whatever degree she looks up to me and looked up to me, it was very heavily influenced by, I guess, the highest standards that I hold for myself. and she had sort of adopted those artificially for a little while, but she's sort of shed them. And so that was really interesting because we've never had a conversation like that where, for the majority of the time, she's talking to me and sort of guiding me through problems and giving me possible solutions and different perspectives. It was really a turning of the coin, and it was very interesting. I think it sort of marked a type of sort of a turning point in our relationship, which our relationship is, I think, a pretty good one because, from time to time I think it's actually not that strong, but then I hear and see other people dealing with their siblings, and there are some marked differences for sure. Lauren and I know most everything about each other. Lauren knows more about me recently. And so we just have a very open relationship. And I've seen her differently now that she's in college, and it's been very interesting. She's had some periods, I think, earlier on where I still doubted her ability to be self-sufficient. But, it's part of a gradual learning thing, and she's definitely making strides towards becoming her own person, more of an individual. And I used to see her as very naive and, I don't know, gullible, kind of, not gullible in the sense that she can be tricked, but just not really taking into account the true complicated nature of things and how interwoven everything is, and how like action and consequence follow each other directly most of the time, and how one action can have like several rooted, like spread out spider webs of consequences. And I'm seeing that differently these days, especially after that conversation. She's I see her more as a human being with a very separate mind from my own, despite the fact that we grew up together and have had so much time together wherein she emulated me to one degree or another. And so that's been a very interesting difference, because I think that's been one thing that's really been holding our relationship back from growing further, because it's grown a lot since, when we were kids. We would hurt each other and fight and be mean to each other. And later, when we got older, we would just be verbally mean to each other. And then older than that, we started, I guess, respecting each other more. And it's been an upward curve for sure. We've gotten very close, and we're of similar minds. But it's cool to see her as an individual now. It's exciting because she has more to offer me, I think, and I have more to offer her, seeing her in this light. And I just thought that was interesting, because that was the most in-depth response that I had to the show, and it was also very, I guess, monumental in a way. So I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was certainly worth mentioning. And that might do it for this first segment, for episode 1. I've got a lot more ideas to cover, a lot more things to broach, and 13 minutes in, I think this is a good start. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. Maybe a song. Maybe I have an idea about a monologue that I want to record, sort of inspired after doing that Dave Eggers reading. I enjoyed that. So maybe this will be followed by something similar to that. So again, this is episode 2 of Molt. Thanks for tuning in, and you should look forward to more to come. Thanks. I'm going to make a clip real quick. I just finished some Japanese homework that took a little while. It usually does. It is very, very totemo muzukashi. It's very hard to do, this homework. It takes a lot of time. It's very exacting. It's very precise. And it's very difficult. And it usually leaves me feeling pretty burnt out. And so I think I'm going to go for a bike ride here pretty soon. But I was listening to the Kobe Beef Show, which is, again, I mentioned on the last podcast, is by a guy named Terrence. And it's a really, really entertaining show. And for similar reasons that Dixon Janes is interesting. It's just a guy just kind of talking about his life, which is definitely a model that I'm trying to follow myself, because it's amazing to me how interesting those types of shows are. And if I can even approach that level of, I don't know, if I can approach that method and do it right, like these guys do, then I know I'm going to make a good show, because I know there's just something about people talking about what's going on in their lives that is ridiculously interesting. And so I thought that I'd release a little steam before I went on my bike ride. I couldn't decide whether or not to do homework. I was going to bike to Decatur, and I'm in the decision-making process right now. Cannot decide whether I should take some work to do at a coffee shop in Decatur that I've never been to, called Java Monkey, that I want to check out. And I'm trying to figure out if I should do homework there, or if I should take a break and do something more fun. Take, a book or something. Actually try to start getting through with a heartbreaking work, which has taken a very, very long time. It's just surprising, because I really do like that book, but I'm still about 3/4 of the way in, and it shouldn't really take that long. It's a great book. So, I don't know, hopefully this recording might help me decide, because I'm feeling a little bit, well, right now I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling like I could do some work and I could do it well. But that would involve me having to bring my computer, and I usually don't like to bring my computer to coffee shops, because I feel like that's kind of what everyone does, and that's kind of lame to me, because a lot of this stuff, I feel like a lot of the things I do on the computer, I usually treat my laptop like a PC, like a desktop computer. I'll just leave it on my desk most of the time, unless I need to. Unless I have to study for something that is only on the computer, or write a paper or something, then I'll usually try to do that when I'm home and when I can just do it in my room. And I'll usually try to save things that are more, I don't know, I look at it as very manual versus digital kind of a dichotomy. It's like I prefer to have the things like reading and such done out. I don't know, something about the computer, it's like, it seems very isolating. It's like if someone has a computer, they are sort of engrossed in what's in front of them, and they're not very approachable. And I think one thing that I always try to do when I go to coffee houses is to look very approachable, because a long time ago when I first started going to Dannemann's, I had always kind of fantasized that I would get into really good conversations with people just randomly, just like they would come up to me, or they would say something that would make me turn around and be like, hey, so on and so forth. And I feel like a computer, it's just like, I don't know if the presumption is that they're doing work, or just that they seem, I don't know, very focused, and kind of got the furrowed brow going on and stuff. And so and at Dannemann's I did end up, I think I was there for almost a year, like almost every single day. I would eat a sandwich, I would read, and I would do homework. And there was a point very early in my Dannemann days when I was actually writing Brittany, my girlfriend, a letter every single day from some point in like early October until November, around Thanksgiving. And it might have even started before that, because I ended up with about 55 letters to her, and it was a really cool little project. I really liked doing it, and it turned out really well, and it was cool. I felt like it was sort of cathartic, kind of like the podcast. It was like I could get out one page of how I felt about us or anything, or what I was thinking, and I tried to keep them kind of focused around her and me, because I can get really preachy really quick about the way I think or the things I feel. And so, Dannemann's, I did that for a little while, but there were a few conversations I got in that were really good. I met this guy named Kevin that was really cool. I met this girl named Adatola. She was really cool. Who else did I meet? Oh man, I met actually more than that. I met quite a few people and heard quite a few stories. And so I guess my attempts at being at coffee shops and finding random conversation by looking available for that, I guess they're successful, because I wouldn't want one every single time, because I do like to read undisturbed. But at the same time, you got to find that balance. You got to have interaction with people, but then you got to also have your alone time to recharge your batteries and sort of reflect or whatever. Um, and so yeah, I think now that I've said all that, I think I probably will just take my books and my more leisurely things. I'll probably save uh, my homework, schoolwork for later tonight, uh, assuming that I don't hang out with friends or anything. Which actually, I haven't really hung out with anyone lately. I haven't seen any of my friends since Sunday. Which that night I ran some errands for them, and I cut Ian's hair, which was a good little do because he had not had a haircut for quite some time, and so I think his hair was maybe 5 inches long or so all around, and he was starting to look a little bit ridiculous, and so I got him looking prime and sexy and all the above, and that was Sunday, and so Jake is supposed to be coming down tonight. Jake Cook, that is, of I'm Incredulous fame and Trench Party, and all the other creative ventures that boy is part of. He might be coming down, and I'd like to give him a what's up. So, nothing is a priority tonight. I've already finished my Japanese, which is the only thing that's pressing. And so I have free reign to do what I want. And so, yes, Today I signed up for a psychological counseling session, which originally, speaking of homework, the assignment that I would do if I brought my computer to the coffee shop would be this assignment called experiential experiment or experiential experimentation or something like that. And basically you have to have two experiences and then write about them. And my first experience that I was going to write about and am going to write about was going to the doctor to get my physical, and then the second one was going to be going to a counselor to sort of be not necessarily analyzed, because it's not like a psychological thing, it's just a counseling session, but to kind of just receive some guidance. I mean, I don't have any major psychological issues going on, nothing that's going to like make me commit suicide or hurt someone else, which were questions that they asked me today on the information form if I was experiencing those feelings. So nothing pressing, but I could definitely talk someone's ear off about the things that make me feel anxious or similar kind of negative feelings if I felt like they were actually listening, which is usually the problem. I usually don't feel like anyone's listening because, it's sort of that dream syndrome. It's like when people come up to you and they tell you about their dream. For me, it's just always such a sigh moment, just a mental sigh. I'm like, they're about to tell you about something that is likely to make no sense because it's such a subjective experience that there's just no way to really capture what they're saying in a way that is like communicable. And it's just, that's usually how I feel about negative feelings. You have to find the right people to talk to those kind of things about, because most people just don't care, which is sad, because I don't know if I like to listen to people more so with their negative things, because I feel like it's important that someone pays attention and like really listens. And so I don't know if that's a natural thing or if I do that in response because I feel like no one actually listens. So anyway, that's going to be next Wednesday that I get my first counseling session, and I think I have about 3 with what I signed up for. And so we'll just see how those go. I've had a few friends that have gone to counselors, and they've said it was a really good experience, and so I think it would be something beneficial for me, especially if I do want to be a psychologist or anything like that. I think it would be nice to know how it feels to be in the kind of vulnerable position where you're actually spilling your mind and kind of letting another person into what you might be keeping just to yourself. And so that was my day today. The only thing really worth mentioning, of actual interest. Not to say my day's been necessarily boring. It's a pretty good day. And the prospect of Java Monkey makes it even more exciting. So yes, and that leaves me here again. It's, I guess if I haven't said already, it's a Wednesday, the 10th of November. And I have an idea to maybe uh, start like an interviewing segment on the show with I think my first person that I would like to interview is a friend of mine who I met this year in my astronomy lab class. His name is Navid, and he's an Ismaili Muslim from Tanzania, which may not mean much to you, but I have known about Ismailis and that Ismailis are predominantly from Tanzania for quite some time because I have a friend named Zain Galani, and he introduced me to Ismaili Muslims and their philosophy and how it differs from Sunnis and Shias and everything. And so whenever I meet someone who is a Ismaili Muslim, I always feel like it's a special occurrence because I really like Zayn, and every Ismaili Muslim that I've met is they tend to be good people. I don't know. On the whole, I guess they're definitely a minority. So perhaps the fact that there are so few just means that I haven't met any abrasive ones. But my friend Navid and I usually talk every single day well, not every single day, but every day we have lab. We'll have pretty in-depth conversations, and he's sort of a history buff, and he definitely likes to talk. And he's a hard person to talk with because he once he starts, you can't really add much. It's that old cliche that you can't get a word in edgewise. I think with him, it's more like you just can't get in a word. It's hard even just to say like the agreeing yeah or totally or definitely, stuff like that. That still gets run over by his conversational train. And so I was thinking, a person like that would be a great person to interview. And he's got really, really good views that are pretty congruous with my own about the state of America, about the state of the world, economy, society, morals, ethics, religion. He and I have similar views on religion. Just have similar views, and I think that it would be a good place for him to get some of those ideas out into the open. Because I talked to him, and he was kind of upset because he feels like he has a lot of aspiration and potential, but he is a really self-proclaimed lazy person, and he hates to do work, and so he has all of these idealistic ideas, and he wants to put everything into practice, and he wants to spread the word, and he wants to fix things because the state of the world is broken in most directions that you look. And I think that I listened to him. He talked for about an hour after my lab class from about 3:20 to 4:20 or so, and he was just kind of just spouting out this stuff that would have just been so great to record. And so I think I'd like to sit down with him. I'm going to have to definitely write some questions, definitely have an idea of the time length that I would like for him to speak, and definitely probably have to do a lot of editing. But I think it would be great to interview him and just let him speak, and maybe just on the next show, I think, most likely, have him have like a 2-part segment, maybe 30 minutes, half the show, just, Navid expressed, something like that. And I think that would be good, both for him and for the show. I think it would just be interesting to have a different perspective, and that might satisfy my, I like to highlight other people and what they're doing, just sort of spread the love and everything. And he's a great guy, and I can tell he's frustrated because I don't think he's been able to reach anyone because, people who are receptive to ideas that are non-traditional and sort of liberal, those kind of people seem to be the minority, or at least they're just very quiet. And so I think it would be cool if even 3 or 4 people were reached with what he has to say. And so I think Navid will be a future guest on this show, and I really look forward to that. And I think that you should too, because it will happen. That's the thing that is for sure. This is something that will happen for sure. It will come to fruition, similar to the Tour de Lilburn. When I got the idea to do that, took the pictures that day, edited them, and had it posted that week. The Tour de Lilburn, conceived, birthed, and grown in 1 week. So, yes, I'll have to write that down, and it's something to look forward to. So coming up at the 15:50 mark in terms of minutes. And I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty loose, feeling like I did some mental jumping jacks, got my mental heart beating. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here and go ahead to Job Monkey and just take my manual stuff, notebooks, pens, books, so on and so forth. And so I bid you adieu and keep listening. That's a new slogan. Keep listening with no G. Bye. Hello. It's Thursday now, and it's about time to start wrapping up the podcast. And so I just spent my morning. It's a Thursday, like I said, and usually I go to a coffee shop, Octane, on Tuesday, Thursdays, and we'll just sit there for a while, read or write or do homework or whatever. But today I didn't do that. I sort of had a plan of waking up early, which I did not do. I woke up at 9, which isn't late, but it's later than what I had thought I might. And I thought I would go upstairs and make my lunch/dinner and just have that over with so that the rest of the day I could spend my time better than having to spend an hour cooking later, which would kind of be a lot more oppressive and everything. And so I ended up cleaning the kitchen and listening to Lord of the Rings soundtracks, The Two Towers and The Fellowship of the Ring. And it was pretty enjoyable. I really liked it. And I think the kitchen is now at a point where there's little improvement else to do. And my girlfriend Brittany had cleaned the carpet last weekend, and she'd done a really good job. And in the interim between Saturday and today, or whatever it may be, it got messy again. And so I organized everything, cleaned everything, and everything's in tip-top shape. And I'm happy about that. And that took a lot of time. And I ended up also cooking later. Cooked at about 12:30 or so, and it's 2 o'clock now. And so that's how I spent my morning today. And that was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And the Lord of the Rings soundtrack was like spot on. And then when I started cooking, I wanted to sing to something, so I put on Badly Drawn Boy, 1 + 1 is 1. And it was great. It paired well with the activity. There's this song on there that it's called, what is it called? I'll have to think about it, but I used to listen to it when I had a crush on this girl back in sophomore year of high school. And it was funny because the words reflected exactly how I felt about her. Like the first line is, well, your face still makes my day, just like it did in the past, and so on and so forth. It's called Another Devil Dies. That's what it's called. And man, that song, I would listen to it and I would walk through the hallways and try to find her and look at her and make eye contact. And so, I'm going to put that song in this podcast, probably follow this clip, because it's a great, great song, and I love it, and I loved it then and now. It's classic. And so that's how I spent my morning. That was the unplanned Thursday activity. It was nice to kind of switch it up a little bit. I had fun. But what I actually wanted to talk about before I started this clip, I had sort of thought, something has happened now twice since I've lived here in Atlanta. And the first time, I thought it was sort of an isolated occurrence and nonetheless traumatic, but still I felt like it was a one-time thing. But since I've lived in Atlanta, I've had to take the lives of 2 animals, and both were in similar situations. And I just wanted to put the situation out there, what I did, how I felt, and everything, because I feel like when I did it, the universe was my witness, and I enunciated every step of the process, like I was speaking to the universe and speaking to the creature as well, just trying to be sensitive and make sure that even if my actions were actually incorrect, like taking the lives of these animals, if it was not the right thing to do, then at least my intention was the right intent. Which I've heard that hell is paved with good intentions, but in this case, I know that it's because it's such an act of finality, uh, as long as you have the right intention, I feel like you're forgiven. I feel like I'm forgiven, but I still want to be. I still want to put out what happened, and uh, I'll do that. So, my friend, I have a friend who makes these sodas with a THC extract, and they're not that strong, but they kind of make you feel different. And so, the first story takes place having had one of those sodas on a Saturday morning, and I've had a few of the sodas since, um, I guess, moving down here. And I've always paired it with biking. Like I'll drink the soda, and then I'll go for a really, really long bike ride, like maybe 30 miles or so, and just really experience it and try to think and just really bike in a different way. And so I was biking, and I was pretty far, maybe an hour into my ride, and I was over on Peachtree Road, and it's a pretty intense road. I was coming from like the Buckhead area, I guess, going towards like the High. If you're familiar with Atlanta, you might be able to have a mental image. And so I was biking, and it was probably midday, noon or so, and I just happened to look down, just on the street. I have a habit of doing it so I don't hit potholes because the roads in Atlanta are notoriously and embarrassingly shitty. So I was looking down and just happened to catch sight of this little bird that was like laying on its back, and we made eye contact, which is kind of weird to say, but there was a moment where I recognized it was there, and I felt like it recognized that I recognized that. And so I kept biking, and I was like, man, that was weird. Like, what's that bird doing there? Because, you know, I mean, I knew why the bird was there. It was obvious that it had been hit, but it was still a weird thing to see. And so I kept biking, and I was thinking, man, I can't just keep biking. I have to turn around, and I have to go see if it's okay. I have to get it out of the road, because it was in the road, probably, I don't know, inches away from being hit with every car that went by. And it was just the fact that it was so close to the curb that kept it from being hit, the final blow. And so I turned around, and I thought, I felt like the Good Samaritan, because I just couldn't walk by. I felt empowered to investigate the situation. And so I went back, and I found where the bird was, and then I realized, oh my God, this thing's still alive. And so I was looking around frantically trying to find something to pick up the bird with, because I didn't want to use my hands, because I've always heard that birds are really dirty. I don't know if that's true or not, but I found a little flyer for some club that was made of pretty thick cardboard, and I was able to pick the bird up. And when I first picked up the bird, it seemed pretty obvious that its neck was broken. Just the body was like not responding, and the head was kind of moving unnaturally. I won't give too many details because I don't know. I have a strong stomach and a strong mind against those sort of things. In the heat of the moment, I feel pretty calm and collected. There's another story, real quick, about my girlfriend and I, Brittany. We went to Anna Maria Island, I think, and she had never gone fishing before, and so we went fishing, and we accidentally caught a seagull, which I tried to reel in to get the hook out of its mouth, and thereafter, almost immediately got hit by a car, but it actually was okay. We nursed it back to health in the period of like 30 minutes or so, and a woman helped us get the hook out, and it was a traumatic situation, but it was overall good. So that's an aside, but it is kind of weird. This is sort of a theme in my life, encountering animals like this. So back to Peachtree Street. Wow. So the bird, I take it over to a shaded area, and I try to give it a few minutes to kind of collect itself, thinking that maybe it just needs some time. Like maybe it got hit by a car and it's just dazed, which is kind of what happened with the seagull. It got hit and it looked like it was dead, but really just needed a few minutes to get itself together, and then it flew off. And so I was hoping that the same thing was going to happen with the bird. But the more I watched, the more I realized, it was very, very obvious that the bird would not live. It would not be able to shake off its injury. It was pretty obvious that its neck was broken, but it hadn't broken in such a way that it would actually kill it. So I had to, I don't know, I spent maybe 20 minutes contemplating what I would do because it was just a regular bird and it's not something you can like take to the pound or the vet, I mean. And even if you could, I don't, it's just so impractical to do that, you know. So I sort of had this like this dialogue going in my head that was kind of suggesting that I kind of knew what I needed to do to take its life, because if I didn't, it would just suffer until it passed away, and I didn't like the idea of that. And so I took it over to a parking lot where I was able to find a really heavy rock, and had decided that I was going to put it out of its misery. And you know, again, while I was doing all this, I was talking out loud, like saying sorry to the bird and sort of stating my case, what I was doing, why I was doing it, and just trying to make everything clear and unconvoluted. And so I ended up, I guess I used the rock to kill the bird, and that was sort of a graphic thing. I won't get into that either. But then I left, and having definitely made sure that the bird had passed on, I just kept thinking about it because it was a lot more emotional having that THC sort of floating around in my brain, even though it was not at the height of the feeling. I was thinking about it. It was very sad to have to do that, but to feel like it was the only thing to do, it's definitely the definition of like a rock in a hard place kind of thing. And so I was thinking about what I had done and if I should feel bad, and I didn't feel like I should feel bad, but I felt like I should not keep it to myself. I felt like it was important to make sure, to validate that I was right in what I had done. I felt like I should not feel like it was something to keep to myself, to be ashamed of, you know? So that night, I went over to my friend's house, the same guys, Josh, Stephen, Alex, Noah, their house, and I told them all about it. I told my girlfriend about it. I tried to tell, you know, the important people who would kind of understand where I was coming from without me even having to say it. And Stephen, my friend, I told him, and it was interesting because he asked me if I wished that I hadn't seen the bird, like we hadn't made eye contact, because he said that he wouldn't have wanted to be in that situation, and if he was, he would have wished that he wasn't. But when I was in that situation, I wanted to be in that situation because I felt like I was the only one who would do the right thing, because I knew what the right thing was, but that didn't make it any easier. And so that was that experience. And then last night, Wednesday night, again, I was actually running an errand for Steven. And it was kind of serendipitous, coincidental. I was at a Kroger that was over in Decatur, which is not a Kroger that I've gone to before. And in fact, every time I've tried to find this Kroger, I have failed. And I actually found it last night. And so I went in and I got what Steven wanted, and I left. And as I was walking out, there was a little mouse like in the foyer of the Kroger, like just close to the exit, and everyone was kind of freaking out. And I was like, "Oh my God, a mouse!" And the woman in front of me who was walking out had just stopped dead in her tracks, just like an elephant, like when they're afraid of mice or whatever. And so I was looking at this mouse, and he was crawling just in the most sad, pathetic way. And I was like, oh my God. And there were these two little girls who came over to me, and they were like, we had rats in our house, and they were real big. And I was like, yeah, because I was trying to figure out how to pick it up so I could take it outside. And they were asking me about it, and they were saying, like, why is he walking so slow? And I said, I think he's sick. And their mom came over and said that she was going to go get somebody to come pick it up. And again, I found, before the employee at Kroger came over, I found a pretty thick piece of cardboard and was able to pick up the mouse. And everyone kept calling it a rat, and that kind of that bothered me, because it wasn't a rat. It was like a little brown mouse. And I felt like rat is just a negative connotation. And here was a creature who was struggling and dying slowly, painfully. And it was because of humans. And I felt like, man, no dignity in any way, you know? It's like we've poisoned it and we've soldered its image. I don't know if solder's the right word. Probably not. It doesn't sound right. But anyway, So the employee came over and he had like a broom and a dustpan, and he was just gonna sweep it up and probably throw it away in the garbage can or something. And I was like, no, man, I'll take care of this. And so he went away. The little girls went away, and I took the mouse over to like kind of an area where there was a tree, and more of a natural area, so that if the mouse, like the seagull, like the bird, just needed some time to gather itself, then it could have that and then skedaddle on and live hopefully the rest of its life better than its more recent life. And so I left it in a certain spot and decided to start looking around for an implement if I needed to take its life or not, because it looked like it was not in a good shape. He was very, very pathetic and sad. And so I was looking around, and I found a very big rock. It was very heavy, sort of rectangular shaped, so I knew it would be a good one. That's not even a good thing to say. And so I went over to where I had put the mouse, because I thought, if it was actually okay, then he would have already gone on by now. He would have, gone off into the bushes, and that would be that. But he was still there, and it was just sad. The mouse was like dragging his back legs, and was kind of, he would take a step forward and just kind of fall over sideways. And I just, it's like a sixth sense seeing stuff like that now for me. I can just sense that, this is not, there is no return point from something like that. It can only get worse. And so I had to do something. And so, as with the bird, I took the rock, and I ended its life. And again, I was like talking the whole time, kind of. I mean, not in a weird way, but just kind of in a way where I felt the presence of the universe. It's a vague way of putting it, but it's how I do it pretty often. I felt observed, and I felt like in order to make what I was doing, what's the word? Sort of, in order to make it, sacred, kind of in a way, like to, there's a word for what I'm trying to think of. It was kind of like a purification of my act, keeping it step by step, like recorded and spoken. I felt like the guilt and the shame or anything, the doubt, it was all absolved from me by doing that, because I had the right intention again. And my sister once said that, I think we were talking about, I don't know, something in our family, and my mom or my sister had said that it was all about intention. Intention was more important than actual action. What you had meant to do was more important than the perceived action or words spoken. And so that's stuck with me for a really long time. And that's how I felt about it. And it's been about 18 minutes now telling that story. And I'm about to have to go to school. So I think I'm going to play drums for a little while because no one's here right now. And Jake said that he wanted to get a Terminal Detour sampler going on for this Thanksgiving. And he asked me to record 2 songs if I could. And I made a few riffs last night, went to the boys' house, and was making some awesome fire on the guitar. I've never felt like I was making love to an instrument, but last night I felt like Jimi Hendrix. Just playing guitar for like 45 minutes, feeling so one with the guitar. So I'm going to go play, and I hope those stories weren't too much of a bummer. They're uplifting in a very different way, in a way that's rare, because there's rare incidences like that. But, I feel as good as I can about it. I feel it's a higher level of like experience. I feel it's like you are playing God, but I felt like I did the right thing, and I guess that's what I'll end with. And I'll probably talk to you later today because the podcast isn't done yet, and needs to be for Friday. So until then, Molt out.
Well, your face still makes my day, just like it did in the past when you turned me away. I kept coming back for more. That's a choice I chose. You were so distant, but I stayed close. It feels like we've weathered the storm without having the privilege of calm. And when we sing, I hear another devil dies. When that bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And if I pushed, would you all fall down? 'Cause I don't need this on my back. The hatred will tear us apart. If you don't do what you did at the start. Now should I go or will you stay? We'll find a plan of attack. There's a price to pay for showing no reaction to all the simple things. In time you will know what I know, but for now you win. The hatred will tear us apart. The devil will take out your heart. But when we sing, I hear another devil dies. When that bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And if I pushed, would you all fall down? 'Cause I don't need this on my back. It seems like we've weathered the storm without having the privilege of calm.
Oh my good God damn. I cannot believe, as we say in the South, I cannot believe that another hour has escaped now. Another hour solidified forever in malt history. Another hour, I can't believe it. It's amazing. I feel like I haven't done any work for this podcast. Like earlier this week on Tuesday, I was getting kind of worried. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to, if it starts getting stressful, then I'm going to, I understand why Jake had to take a break. But here I am, 55 minutes. I've only got less than 5 minutes to wrap this whole thing up and try to say some concluding words. And the only thing that I can think of that's on my mind, excuse me, I ate a bunch of chocolate, milk chocolate. I couldn't resist. Though hypocritical it is, chocolate I just cannot resist. There are those things in life that you just cannot resist, and chocolate is one of maybe 5 for me. So anyway, what is on my mind now is that I'm going to take this podcast in a different direction than I thought I was going to. I'm going to make it a lot more freeform, a lot more, just natural. Because I felt kind of like I wanted to, like I had a skit in mind for this podcast, but it didn't necessarily flow naturally. I would have had to do a lot of work to get it done. And I felt like I really just wanted to talk, especially after Tuesday when I got the first track down and I knew where I was going with this podcast. And so this isn't something that you probably will find that's observable, but just something that I wanted to put out there. And I'm going to structure the Tumblr page differently. Excuse me, that chocolate. I was doing it in sort of the format that Jake had made, and I don't like doing that for my own show, so I'm going to start writing the show notes differently. And, that's basically the only structural change that's going to happen. But it's just natural. It's important to stay natural, because I know that the moment I begin to stray away from doing what is easiest and most natural and organic, like for this show, it's mostly clips of me talking, only one song and some sound effects. I know that that's going to destroy the quality. You cannot force something like this. It's impossible. It's possible, but the product that you're going to come up with is going to be straight up garbage. And I don't want garbage, man. I want Molt to be good. Molt is not about garbage. It's about shedding the garbage, not bringing the garbage in. Don't bring it in. Stop. It's NIMBY. It's a NIMBY situation. Not in my backyard. You get out of here with that garbage. Take it somewhere else. Get out of here. Go. Get. Go on. So, that's sort of a public service announcement. And that was sort of me yelling at myself to keep my own baggage away. This is a garbage-free zone. This little, 2 foot by 2 foot square that I make this podcast in. There is no garbage allowed. And I've been trying to work on getting an RSS feed so that people can subscribe through iTunes, but it's really difficult. Jake had been trying to do this in the past, and I thought he was just being lazy, but it turns out it's actually very hard to do. And let me clarify that statement by saying it seems harder to do if you insist on doing it for free. I'm sure that I could figure out a way in which I could pay money and have it done very quickly and almost seamlessly, but that is not the way I go. I'm very, very frugal, and I never want to waste money on something as intangible as like an RSS feed and stuff like that. Stuff that I will never see, like nothing I can hold in my hands. So, having said all that, I would like to leave you, the listener, with a weird thought that has been on my mind all week. It's been a repeating theme, kind of. My girlfriend came here last weekend, as I mentioned before. She beautifully cleaned the carpets. And there was a point where she went to use the bathroom after I had used the bathroom. And when she came back, she asked me if I had peed on the floor. And naturally, the first thing I did was say no, because that's embarrassing and weird. And but for some reason, I've heard her continuously asking this question in my head all week, and I've been paying attention to the way I pee. And I'll spare you the gory details, but I think I might have peed on the floor. It was an accident, and it's not like something that I am proud of and something I'm going to take care of, but gotta be honest, I think I peed on the floor, which is doubly embarrassing because the Scarborough dude talks about how much he hates people who pee on the floor, and so needless to say, it's a very touchy subject. But anyway, I just wanted to leave you with that because it's been on my mind, and I thought maybe if I put it out there, it would stay out there, get out of my mind, because there's nothing productive to come from it. I already know what I'm going to do to change the situation. And I just wanted to see if I could shoo it away. Just some of that garbage I was talking about. Anyway, it's been an hour. It's 26 seconds. So I'm going to let you go. I might put a song underneath this clip. Probably not. But I hope you enjoy your weekend and enjoy this episode. And next Friday, a.m., be there. Molt will. And we got nothing but love for you. Come on in for the real thing.